This is the Holy Gospel of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ according to John. Glory to you, Lord Christ. This is John chapter 1, beginning at the first verse. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. Through him all things were made. Without him nothing was made that has been made. In him was life, and that life was the light of all people. That light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. There was a man sent from God whose name was John. He came as a witness to testify concerning that light, so that through him all might believe. He himself was not the light. He came only as a witness to the light. The true light that gives light to everyone was coming into the world. He was in the world, and though the world was made through him, the world did not recognize him. He came to that which was his own, but his own did not receive him. Yet to all who did receive him, to those who believed in his name, he gave the right to become children of God. Children born not of human descent, nor of a human decision or a husband's will, but born of God. The Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us. We have seen his glory, the glory of the one and only Son who came from the Father, full of grace and truth. John testified concerning him. He cried out, saying, "This is the one I spoke about when I said, 'He who comes after me has surpassed me because he was before me.' Out of his fullness we have all received grace in place of grace already given. For the law was given through Moses. Grace and truth came through Jesus Christ. No one has ever seen God, but the one and only Son, who is himself God and is in closest relationship with the Father, has made him known." This is the gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, Lord Christ. In the name of God, of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Please be seated. Well, as I said, welcome. It's great to be together on this day. There's something about the after party, isn't there? That's kind of intimate. We can come together. And knowing that we just have gone through this celebration of Christmas, and then people in general have a way of being able to spend their time together. And so I don't know what you do. You know, once you've eaten so much food that you can't take in any more food, and you're all just kind of sitting around, kind of what do you do? There, I can tell you what happens a lot of times in our household is that the games come out. The games. And so you start playing games, all different kinds of games. And our family especially likes word games. Are there other people here who like word games? What word games do you like? Scrabble. Yep, that's the number one. Other ones? Dictionary. Yep. Other ones? Sorry. Boggle. Yes, Boggle's a big one. That can get violent. Boggle can. There are lots of these kind of word games out there, and even, you can work on sometimes a crossword puzzle. You start out doing it by yourself, but then pretty soon it's, honey, do you know a 3-letter word for a bird in Asia or something like that? And so it becomes a community thing. But, the tricky thing is that words are not stagnant. They change over time. Have you noticed that? So they change. So words that we take for granted, that we know what they were, sometimes they have a history in them that started in a completely different place. So I thought I've got a few words with me, and so I'll throw out the word, and then you tell me what it means, and then I'll tell you what it originally meant. Okay? Does that make sense? Want to play a game? All right. Let's play a game. Awesome. What does awesome mean? Fantastic. Terrific. The best. All right. So all of that makes sense. That's how we use the word. But originally, when the word was used, it meant fear, terror, or dread. It was a synonym with the word awful. So awful meaning The sea is awful in that it's huge, it's big, it's dangerous. It's an awful place to go. And awesome meant exactly the same thing. It came from the word awe. And with awe, there was a lot of fear that was associated. Cheater. What's a cheater? Thank you so very much, John. Thank you. What's a cheater? A rule breaker? What's that? Not fair.
My brother.
Your brother. We're not going to get into family disputes here. We're not going to get into family. Well, that's interesting because do you know that originally a cheater was a person? It was a person who worked for the king, and when somebody died without a will, the cheater was the one who went and brought that property into the estate of the king. Oh, it doesn't take long to kind of figure out how that word developed, eh? Yeah, it is interesting. All right. Naughty. This is naughty and nice season, right? Naughty. What does that word mean?
Being mean.
Being mean. Okay, what else?
Breaking dishes.
Breaking dishes, that is a naughty thing. Unless it was bad. Yeah, well, that's true too. Hiding your sister's stuff, is that what? Yes? Misbehaving, yes, exactly. Lily, you got one?
Be careful. My baby's
I think we're going to let you guys kind of work on things over here. So, naughty originally meant poor, destitute, bankrupt. Isn't that interesting? Not the zero, not meaning not, zero. And then someplace it started to evolve and develop into someone who was morally bankrupt, morally didn't have their, stuff. And so they were naughty. And so if that's true about naughty, then what about nice? Nice. You want to try?
Maybe not crashing your mom's car.
To be nice, yes, nice.
Gentle when you're washing someone's car.
Be gentle. That's a story there. Other ones about nice? Kind. What else? Kind. Any others? Okay. So originally all of that makes sense, but originally the word meant ignorant. Silly, foolish. If you called a woman nice, she might slap you, being offended. So you have to kind of apply. So how would being silly or being ignorant kind of move into the area of that it's nice as we understand it? Kind of like it's an interesting thing to think about the development of things. And words can change right under your nose, right? So what's a Google? Search engine, right? Huge major company in the United States. What was a Google? So it was a number, right? It still is a number. It was a number. It's a number, a 1 with 100 zeros beyond it. 100 zeros beyond it. So you can kind of think, well, where did Google come from? Now that makes a lot of sense. So these words, we use them, and we use them a lot, but they shift and they have different kinds of meanings. And so it's the people have spent a lot of time trying to think through how to standardize the way that we use things. So it's Samuel Johnson invented or was the first standard English dictionary in England, but it was Noah Webster here in the United States who standardized English for us and took out all of the strange spellings, that were English spellings. So we spell color C-O-L-O-R instead of C-O-L-O-U-R the way that they do over in England. So even then we were economical in the way that we saw things. But it's standard the way that we have to talk about things. But that implies that words change. And words change according to our experience. And the question is, how do we then define words in ways that we can actually talk to each other about the things that we mean? I remember when I was in college, the janitor who worked in our building, We were talking about religious kinds of things, and he said to me, don't talk to me about God as my father. Father. What's the meaning of the word father? He said, don't talk to me about God as my father, because my father was somebody who beat me with a belt and locked me in a closet. So God is my friend. He's my companion. He is not my father. So when we use a word like father, he would have a very different interpretation because of the experiences in his background. But we all have experiences that are in our background. And so those experiences color the way that we use words. So when we say truth or love or hope or I really mean it, those words shift, don't they? As it depends on the context, the meaning, the experiences that we've had. And then that opens a whole different door because words then are kind of slippery, aren't they? They're slippery according to who we are and how it is that we want to use them. So it's not a wonder that sometimes we get kind of concerned and worried about whether our words mean anything. And so, this thing about, who can you trust? Can you trust what our leaders are saying? Can you trust the people who are around us? Can you trust what they say, that it means what it does? T.S. Eliot has this great quote in his poem, The Four Quartets, and he says this about meanings and words. He says, words strain, crack, and sometimes break under the burden, under the tension, slip, slide, perish, decay with imprecision, will not stay in place, will not stay still. Wow. So then you try to build a life on that. It's pretty precarious, isn't it? So, where do we find ourselves? In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. And he was with God, and in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. The Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us, and we have seen his glory, the glory of the one and only Son, who came from the Father, full of grace and truth. In order for us to be able to know what words mean, there has to be a standard. There has to be something that we refer back to in order to give it definition and meaning, in order for us to be able to know that it stays and it stays put. And for all time, it will mean what we know that it means, that it's revealed to be able to mean. And no one of us, because we're human beings, can do that. Because anytime we use words in some ways, they become slippery and they become difficult to nail down. Jesus becomes the Word. Jesus is the one that provides for us definition. You want to know what love is? Look at Jesus. You want to know what truth is? Look at Jesus. You want to know what a friend is? Look at Jesus. You want to know who God is? Listen to Jesus. Jesus is the one who is able to see us through. He is able, even though we are pretty waffly and pretty slippery, Jesus is the one who constantly calls us back to something that does not move, to something that brings us meaning, to something that gives us a life that we can build on and that people can trust, so that we can always look to him, and he will lead us deeper and deeper and deeper into places that we can grow and that allow all kinds of other kinds of relationships and other kinds of beauty and wonder and families and kids and institutions and businesses and public works to be able to be what they mean because people look to Jesus. If we don't look to him, then it's kind of all up for grabs. Mother Teresa, in her devotional book, Jesus, the Word to be Spoken, answers the question, who is Jesus to her? Who is Jesus to me? Jesus is the Word made flesh. Jesus is the bread of life. Jesus is the victim offered for our sins on the cross. Jesus is the sacrifice offered at Holy Mass for the sins of the world and for mine. Jesus is the Word to be spoken. Jesus is the truth to be told. Jesus is the way to be walked. Jesus is the light to be lit. Jesus is the life to be lived. Jesus is the love to be loved. Jesus is the joy to be shared. Jesus is the sacrifice to be offered. Jesus is the peace to be given. Jesus is the bread of life to be eaten. Jesus is the hungry to be fed. Jesus is the thirsty to be satiated. Jesus is the naked to be clothed. Jesus is the homeless to be taken in. Jesus is the sick to be healed. Jesus is the lonely to be loved. Jesus is the unwanted to be wanted. It's a great celebration, this thing, Christmas. It's a great celebration to know that God has given his Son to become flesh, the Word of God made flesh. But it's just the beginning. It's not the end point. It's just the beginning. It is the beginning of a celebration. It is the beginning of unwrapping this gift that is given to us about what it means for Jesus to be the Word for us to speak, and the Word to shape us as we go out into the rest of our lives. Thanks be to God. Merry Christmas! Merry Christmas. All right, so let's stand together and affirm our faith using the